Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a new layout to share for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2020 February kits today. And I've already picked out a couple papers from the main kit that I want to use today. And I'm going to use this really pretty blue paper with the white grid design on it as my background. That's from Pink Fresh Studio, and then a couple of the Bloom Street papers from Paige Evans. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. I just felt like fussy cutting some flowers and leaves and arrows, so that's what I'm going to do here. These flowers are very easy to cut, so if you are not into fussy cutting but you want to cut out something that won't take a long time to do, this is good. I wouldn't even call this fussy cutting because it's really just a circle. So this is something that you could easily cut out. Wouldn't take long. It was pretty easy to do. I also cut out some of those. Are they chevrons? Are they arrows? They're both. I went ahead and cut out a rainbow variety of those, and I toyed around with a couple of ideas of how I wanted to arrange those, and I've actually already used this paper on a layout before, and I cut out those chevrons and arranged them in a circle. So I didn't want to do the same thing again. So this time I thought that I would just glue them together in sort of ombre slash rainbow order and make a couple of little arrow clusters. So I've got a couple of pink ones, I'll have the yellow, green, and blue ones, and then these purple ones. And now I can move them around as basically die cuts. So from here on out, this layout is going to take a lot of turns. So we're just going to start here. I picked out this photo. Oh, there was Paige. I don't know if you saw her hair. She had to come give me a kiss. This photo is actually pretty big, and it's bigger than I normally use. I love this picture, but I tried and tried to come up with a design, and it just threw me off. I'm used to using smaller photos. So I took a break, came back, and I chose two smaller pool photos. And I forget to show you up close, but as you can see, I machine stitched through all those little arrows that I glued together. And I thought that using two smaller photos would be easier for me to design with. I'm still going to try to use that larger photo at some point, but for this layout, I just went ahead and changed it out. Okay, so here's where my brain just goes cuckoo. I'm going to do mixed media on this, and I'm using white gesso here like I normally do. I always use gesso, sometimes white, sometimes clear. Since I'm using pattern paper here and there's color on this paper, I chose to use white gesso to give me a little bit of white space and to kind of fade out the middle. Okay, so what did I just do? I thought that I would add in a little bit of that Lindy's pink raspberry lemonade or strawberry lemonade. Raspberry lemonade? It's the pink color that we get in the color kit this month. And what would happen if I just added a little bit and smudged it with my palette knife into the wet gesso? You basically just get pink gesso. So I didn't really like the look of that scrape effect with the palette knife there, so I thought that I would just add some water and start to spread the paint around and kind of make it, you know, a nice big pink watercolor area like I tend to do. And I use the knife, I use the brush, I spritz it with water, and this starts to look okay. My thought process was, since the photos have so much blue in them, that I would add a big amount of pink to my background. Well, I didn't really like how that was looking, so I added more white gesso on top of it. As you can see, it faded out the first bit of pink. I'm going to come back in with a lot more powder. I let the gesso completely dry this time, and look how bold this color is. It's so, so pretty. I added quite a bit, and I just keep going, and I feel like it's just overkill. I think I made too much of a big pink area here. I keep adding water. I like to turn the paper and just let it run. I mean, you really don't even need a brush to do this kind of thing. This is kind of what I would just call a color wash. I'm just using one color, and I'm basically just letting it fill up a good portion of the background. Now keep in mind, a lot of this is going to get covered up because I'm going to bring the photos back. I'm going to bring back those little arrow pieces that I stitched together and add the flowers. So you're really going to wind up only seeing this around the edges of everything. You can kind of see the contrast there with the blue in the photos and that bold pink background. All right, so this is going to dry a lot lighter than you see here. Anytime I use the Liquitex white gesso, the Lindy's, it looks very, very bold when I first start with it, like here, but when it dries, it softens up quite a bit. And that's okay because it's going to work out for the better with this layout. So here's where I just kind of, I didn't bring my gesso down far enough when I first applied it. And then my watercolor just sort of got a little bit bigger than I intended. So I'm trying to add gesso here after the fact, down at the bottom. And it just keeps going and going. And it just kind of looks like a big old pink mess. But you know what? I always say there's a way to fix it. Don't throw it away. Just keep working at it. And I'm adding quite a bit of water here. And, you know, I do get asked a lot about the gesso. The gesso is basically protecting the paper from ripping and tearing and all that water just seeping right through it. It's allowing me to let the color run and blend and spread. And you can kind of see here that it dried a whole different color than it did when it was wet. And that's okay, but very, very soft. So now you can kind of see all those bold colors from the arrows that I've got going there. So, all right, so what I thought I would do, I changed my whole orientation of how I had it before. And I'm adding some adhesive foam behind the arrows. I'm going to add foam behind the pictures, behind that sun. Basically everything is going to be popped up. And that's just going to create some dimension and make it a little more interesting and not completely flat. Since this background, when I use a lot of water on the paper like this, it does warp, it does bend, and I usually have to flatten it out. And I usually do that overnight once the background is dry. All right, so I'm going to try to incorporate the flowers that I cut out at the beginning and try to work those in some way, somehow, with all of these arrows. I was getting frustrated, as you can see. My hands are just going all over the place. I wasn't really liking what I was doing here. Just something about it I didn't like, so I kept getting frustrated. I had to keep taking breaks. And it's just weird how that happens sometimes because I love these products and I love the colors, but sometimes it's just not working and I don't even know why. I'm going to add a little bit of tissue paper behind the photos as well as some more adhesive foam. Like I said, I'm going to pop those up, and I definitely want the photos over on the right. I always say, well, I still break my rules sometimes. A rule for me, I like to have the person in the photo, whichever direction they're looking, I like to have them on the opposite side of the layout so it looks like they're looking across or down or up. But in this case, I have my husband looking one way and my daughter looking the other way. So should I put them in the dead middle? I don't know. So I just decided, since his head is bigger and he's looking to the left, that I would just put the pictures on the right. And that's just the way it's going to go, because I wanted the arrows to point toward the photos. Usually when you have arrows, you know, you want them to point toward something. And so I felt like this would work the best. So I'm kind of liking this design a little bit better. I'm going to add a little bit of the flowers over to the right for a little bit of a cluster. And then I'm going to add in some thread. I'm only going to add in thread in a couple places. I'm going to add in some yellow over here on the left, since I feel like down there at that area, there's really not a pop of that yellow. So I'm going to do that with the thread. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to glue things down. I don't want to move anything again. I'll never get it back like I have it. So I'm just going to very carefully fold things up, add some glue, and smush it down. And some of these, let's see, this little flower cluster here is actually a sticker. It's from the Bloom Street sticker book. And I was going to use it last week, but I didn't. So I made it a die cut by sticking it to some cardstock first and then cutting it out. So that's why I'm able to move that around. I'm just gluing down the flowers. I'm going to glue down all of those arrows. And I'm going to leave a little gap in between the top three and the bottom three, because that's where part of my title is going to wind up going. And I am going to wind up taking the sun away. I really like how it looks, especially when I'm using pool photos. I love using sunshines, but I decided to do a little wavy line of flowers. And I actually really like how this part turns out. So instead of the sun, I added sort of an orangey yellow flower with green leaves, and then that softer yellow flower. And then, yeah, it's going to kind of snake down the layout there in the center. And I like how that turned out. So I've got pops of green, I've got some blue. All I'm doing here is I grabbed my hot pink gelato and I'm just smudging in a couple places to pull in a little bit more of that hot pink color to match that hot pink flower, because I actually have a couple of those. And my background was more on the light pinkish purpley shade side. So I just wanted a bit of this deeper pink, or not deeper pink, but more of a hot pink. And yeah, I'm just scribbling the gelato down and using my finger to blend it and smudge it. Gelatos are so much fun. Always use those when I can. And I think that pulls in that pink color a little bit better. So I want to make sure that these flowers are popped up the same height as the photos. So that's all I'm doing there. I did glue the yellow one flat down to the paper there, but it's kind of tucked behind everything, so it's okay. But yeah, I like that a lot better than the big sun. And I like how the flowers look with the arrows there, just something different. So now I'm going to add in just a couple of small things. I'm going to add in some Pink Fresh Studio goodies. There's a little die cut that I'm going to add to the top there of the top photo that says hooray. And then I felt like I needed a pop of the blue that's in the photos over to the right. So I'm just going to add in some tangled thread in that color. And I kind of had to really smush it under there because I'd already glued that cluster down. And I'm going to mix and match my title. I wanted to use this amazing die cut from Pink Fresh Studio. So I'm going to glue that right where you see it. And then I'm going to mix and match. These are the really cute gold thickers that we get. I'm not quite sure what collection these come with, but I'm going to use the word hello. And it's the perfect size. It's perfect for that little section there. And then I'm going to add one more word for the title from the Pink Fresh Studio Noteworthy stickers. And it just says memories. So, you know, a very generic title, Hello Amazing Memories. Like I always say, sometimes I start out with the title. Sometimes the title is the last thing that I do. And sometimes the title takes me the longest. You know, sometimes I struggle with what to come up with. But sometimes when you just have the stickers or the words already there, just kind of use what you have. You know, I tend to scrap everyday moments, and, you know, every once in a while I have photos that are, you know, a monumental event, but these were just a random day in the pool. My husband and my daughter were playing and laughing, and I got some pictures. So, you know, it was just a fun day. And so I don't feel like I need a, you know, an extraordinary title. Hello Amazing Memories. They were amazing memories, and it's going to be just fine. So that's what we're going with. All I did there was add in some more stickers, a couple of phrase stickers from the Bloom Street sticker sheet. Whoa, that's a tongue twister. I'm going to add in a couple of these little bees, also from the Bloom Street stickers, a couple of those. And I did add a little sticker over to the right underneath the flower cluster that has some silver foiling on it. And even though I've got some gold going on here, I don't even think it matters. You don't even really notice that I'm mixing and matching gold and silver. And you know what? In the end, it doesn't really matter. Anything metallic looks great. I love me some foiled pieces. So in the end, it's fine. I'm popping that little bee up, and then I'm going to add the other one right here on top of the right where the yellow thread is. All right, we're on the home stretch. We're almost done. I'm going to add in my journaling lines. And I'm going to use my black fine tip Sharpie to write my journaling. And I think this is finally turning out okay. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here when I made that big giant mess of pink on the background. You can see now how much is visible, you know. Most of it got covered up, but I wanted it to just be peeking around the edges. And so that's basically what happened. All you saw me do there was add in a couple more gold pieces, some puffy hearts, and then I pulled out the Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray that we got around the Christmas kits, I think. But Yeah, I'm just splattering that around, and then that's it. That's the final page. I think it turned out okay considering the turmoil that I went through making this, trying to figure out what in the heck I was doing. You know, some days I struggle, some days it just happens so easily, and I think everybody's like that. I'm sure you've had layouts like that too. But yeah, in the end, I think it turned out really cute. And again, it's got a rainbow color scheme, so, you know, you gotta love that. But here are all the close-ups. You can see how the adhesive foam really pops things up. And it was a very, very sunny day here. So hopefully I got the colors right taking all these pictures because it was very bright. Anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I hope this gives you some inspiration, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.